Alright, so it's been about 8 months since I published my first video, and I've gotten a lot of comments from people saying, "Oh my gosh, Green Templar, my most favorite YouTuber. What made you want to start YouTube?" No one actually asked me that, but I'm going to tell the story anyways. So, YouTube's always been something special to me. I'm sure a lot of you can relate, but when I was a little kid, me and my friends, we made all these plans, and we were planning on buying houses right next to each other on a lake, and then make YouTube videos together. We had it like all planned out. Our kids were going to be friends, and we're going to have doors in our fences so we can go through each other's backyards. And we're going to have a boat so we could go out and swim in the summertime, and it was going to be great. I remember one day, specifically in 2017 in the summertime, we sat down and planned it all out. The four of us, like every single detail we got down. We picked out the exact spot we wanted to build our houses, whose house was going to be next to whose, shoot, even like the colors of our houses and what we wanted to have in them. But after that summer in 2017, we all moved on. We started growing up. And now we're going off to college or heading off to the workforce. A lot of us became athletes. I kept swimming. Some of the other guys, they picked up soccer. Some guys wanted to do fashion and stuff like that. Some of us became like gym rats. Some of us just became obsessed with like film. And, we moved to different schools. We found new friends, and some of the guys I haven't even talked to in years. Life moves on, and time keeps on marching by no matter what you do about it. We don't dress in Nike and Adidas shorts and shirts anymore, and God forbid, there's like this one neon phase I had for a hot minute. I'm glad I'm out of that, but I remember we used to all have the same buzz cut that like almost every kid had when they were young. But now we've all like grown out our hair differently. Specifically for me, I used to hate the idea of long hair, but I ended up growing mine out long enough where I could like put it all up in a hair tie. I've cut it since then, but it was kind of crazy it got to like be that long in the first place. But my point being here is that we all moved on, and we all grew up. We found different dreams, different passions, we found people to love, and we prepared for our future careers. I did hold on to one thing though. I still remember that house, and I still remember the dream of making YouTube videos. How I thought it would look has changed significantly since then, but the core of the dream, making content, has remained the same. In 2014, my siblings and I finally convinced our mom to get Minecraft Pocket Edition on our family iPad, and I haven't stopped playing it since. I remember building my first diamond house and like trying to spice it up by making each layer a different like ore. And I remember building secret bases to hide my stuff from other players on my single player world. I remember being afraid of Herobrine and trying to create the portal to the Aether. And there's also this like one flower portal that I tried to make. I don't, believe me, I can't remember like what it was, but it was, and I can't like find it anywhere on the internet, but I remember trying to make it. But later on in 2021, I think I started watching YouTube a lot more. I found creators like Ryan Not Bryden in his like Minecraft Factions series. And, but like specifically, there's this one video I don't think I'll ever forget. I was watching Mr. Beast's 1000 versus 1000 Minecraft player war video. And that was the first time I had ever seen Technoblade before. I remember specifically like timestamp was 6 minutes and 44 seconds in. He was storming Chandler's base and he went, "Knock knock, it's the United States." And I don't know what it was about him, but he was just so like effortlessly funny. And of course cracked at the game. And from that moment, I was hooked. And Technoblade became my primary like go-to for watching stuff on YouTube. I remember when the Where I've Been video came out, only a couple months after I first found him. And when he broke the news about him having cancer, I honestly didn't think it would be that big of a deal. I mean, of course, cancer is horrible, but I never doubted that he would pull through. And as the months passed, I kept watching his content, like Dream SMP streams, his Skywars and Skyblock series, and his like Bannerlord streams that he did, which were a bit less popular, but still peak. I'd say Technoblade is probably my single biggest inspiration. And that's actually why I started recording my first videos on Hypixel. But nothing lasts forever. I remember when I saw that video, I was scared for the worst. When I saw Technoblade's dad, my heart dropped. And I'm sure you've heard stuff like this before, but I've never been hit so hard by a death of someone I didn't even personally know. In the days after his death, I kept watching his videos. It was almost like I was trying to delay it. I didn't want him to be dead, and every video I watched, he was just so alive. But you gotta accept things and move on. And so I did. I sometimes come back and watch his videos, and I'll never not laugh at him. And as the years passed, I got my first job. I started high school. I made new friends. I kept swimming and lifting, and I actually started putting on some muscle too, which I was super hyped about. But that dream of YouTube, it started to fade away, bit by bit, as life swept me up with all its like highs and lows and the rough seas that go with it all, and it just carried me along. Going into my sophomore year of high school, I finally started thinking about my future career and plans. Those days of being carefree and dumb were getting ready to pass on and disappear with the setting sun. And I started taking myself far more seriously than I should have. Then, and even now, I figured if I acted like what I thought a man was supposed to be, I would be able to get my act together and sort things out. But that version of a man I was trying to be was so far off from what I think it means to be a man now. I made the pretty big mistake of letting guys from random videos tell me what a man was supposed to be, like macho, like never cry, rah, rah, but that version of a man I was trying to be was so far off from what I think it means to be a man now. You gotta be able to laugh. You gotta be able to make a fool of yourself every now and again. We have a very short amount of time on God's green earth, and we shouldn't waste it by being miserable all the time, Don't let loss or grief or worry take away the child in you. And God forbid, don't you ever smother it yourself. So after my sophomore year ended, I got ready to go to a new school. There's going to be more classes, more people, more everything. That summer, some of my buddies and I started playing crappy browser games on our computer every night. And I was using like a 10-plus-year-old desktop Mac. And Lord Almighty, that thing wasn't exactly the best. I don't know how I convinced them, but I put together like a whole PowerPoint on why I should be able to get my own computer. And I put together the parts list and everything, and I planned it all out. And that was like the first real big purchase I ever made. It took me like hours and hours to put together all the parts correctly and then set up the software. And the first game I got on that computer was Minecraft. I think it's the only correct answer, considering it's just always been my childhood game. There's always been other games, but for some reason, I always come back to Minecraft. No matter how long I don't play, I always find myself booting it back up and reliving the memories and also making new ones. Now, during my junior year, that dream of content creating, it always had been in the background, but it started to kind of like resurface bit by bit. The thought of making content just started to look more and more convincing, but I never was super serious with it. I was more okay with just playing the game and having fun instead of recording it, but it didn't really last for too long. I tend to have this itch every now and again, this like itch to create, whether it be writing, music, art, or now content. I've always sought out ways to create and express myself and to share with others. There are many times where I would pray and ask God on guidance on what to do, like whether to start this thing or not. And I think part of me wanted the easy, cut and dry, like yes or no. But in my experience, it hardly ever works that way. And in the lack of an answer, I decided to dedicate it to the Lord and start brainstorming. I thought of the name for my channel and maybe like what I would record, but other than that, I really never got too far into it. I distinctly remember looking for a logo that I could like borrow for my channel over break at work. Obviously I've changed it now, but I'm still wanting to have an artistic profile pic at one point or another, but that's issue for another time. That whole junior year was a blur. The new school, the new people, the testing, everything, it was a lot. And I kid you not, I lost about 7 pounds during finals week of junior year. Like quick side note, I'm proud to say I didn't actually lose any weight this round of finals senior year. So, yippee, I get to keep my gains. But, probably one of my biggest flaws is that when I have an idea, I have trouble acting on it and creating. And I'm working on it, and I think this channel is somewhat a testament to that in its own small way. But as I finally started my senior year of high school, it kind of all hit me. It was all coming to an end, and I was actually going to graduate. But, you know, something felt wrong still. I felt regret. I wish I had done more with the years I had. So many days I wasted worrying about things that didn't really even matter. So many days doing things I didn't even care for. It was then I made a promise to myself. I would do all the things that I wanted to do as a kid. I would do my best to realize all of those dreams and wishes. And I wanted to at least give them a fair shot. If not for me, then like for the little kid that still lives in me. And so one night, I finally sat down and I downloaded OBS because I remember that's what Technoblade used, and I downloaded DaVinci Resolve because, you know, it was free. And I booted up Minecraft, joined a Wool Wars lobby in Hypixel, and I pressed record. And looking back on it, I see so many things I could have done better, and I'm sure in future years I'll look back on this video and cringe, but that's part of the beauty of creating, I think. Keep improving and making content that's more authentic and entertaining. The beauty of it lies in being able to make something that is a reflection of your soul, or at the very least, I think you should be able to pour your soul into what you make. At the very least, I think it's the bare minimum as a creative or an artist. You know, I don't do this every time, but I think the principle is still something I stand by. You know, as the weeks rolled by after my first video, I only got like a handful of views, like 20 here, 7 there. I remember when I got my first comment, I was like so hyped that I had made something that was worth watching, and like someone had found it entertaining enough or whatever to comment on. And specifically, there's this one comment I like to look back on every now and again, and the guy said, "You're genuinely funny, and I hope you make it to the big leagues." And that was such an ego boost for me, I'm not even gonna lie. And of course, I immediately let it go to my head. But that comment was more of a one-off at the time than anything, and it would be a little bit before I got like more comments and stuff like that. But as I continued to record each week, I kept working on it. Not necessarily because I wanted more views, but because it was something that I genuinely had begun to enjoy as. And as the months passed, and here I am, like right now, recording, I think I can say I love it. I know I'm not the best, and I know my editing is pretty rudimentary, and I know I'm not the funniest or the best at the game, but creating content is still something I've grown to love. And as long as at least one person is able to laugh or relax for a little bit while watching, then I think I've done my job. So to all of you watching here, really, I guess the really quick version is like, I started this channel because it's a dream I've had since I was young. And now that I have like the know-how and the freedom to do it, I just decided to go for it. And I found something that I enjoy. And even though the videos are far from polished, I love the process of creating and sharing bits of my faith. And I hope y'all will stick around for the journey. Obviously no pressure or anything like that. But I'm finally done with finals, and I got some big ideas for the down the road. And I know this isn't exactly a normal video, but I thought I might as well let y'all know like who I am, what this channel is supposed to be, and all that, because, you know, I've been creating for a tiny bit, and for those of y'all who are around, I think it's fair enough to do that. But enough of that sappy stuff. Watch this.